European teams were once the powerhouses of European football. Before the Soviet Union entered its first representative into the Champions League in 1966, 16 Eastern European teams reached the quarterfinals in the competition's opening 11 years. Hungary's Vasas and Vasaskor, Czechoslovakia's Dukla Prague, and Bulgaria's CSKA Sofia all reached the semi-finals of the competition, while Yugoslavia's Partizan Belgrade were runners-up to Real Madrid in 1966. In the competition's first 35 seasons, until the format changed to a group stage in 1991, Eastern European clubs accounted for 71 of the 280 quarter-finalists. The depth of quality was also shown in the fact that 33 different clubs comprised that total. Although Eastern European clubs did not regularly make it to the last four, they were represented in four finals, with Steaua Bucharest defeating Barcelona on penalties to become the first to lift the trophy. They were also often the bogeymen of defending champions. Celtic's Lisbon Lions of 1967 were eliminated in the first round the next year by Dynamo Kyiv, while the Ukrainian club also defeated Bayern Munich in 1976, when they were going for a fourth consecutive title. In 1991, more history was made and a new era looked to be on the cards. Red Star Belgrade won 5-4 in a penalty shootout against Marseille and became champions of Europe, the second team to win the competition from Eastern Europe. The team was packed with stellar names, and it was a composition of players from 5 of the 6 republics of what was then Yugoslavia: Serbia, Montenegro, North Macedonia, Bosnia, and Croatia. Many saw Red Star's success as the start of a golden period for the region, with Yugoslavia's under-20 World Cup winning team from 1987 reaching their peak. The national team was considered among the favourites for Euro 92 after reaching the quarterfinals of the 1990 World Cup. But fast forward just 1 year to 1992, 1 year after Belgrade's insane achievement, Europe's centre of gravity started its shift westward. 5 of the winning Red Star Exile had left by the start of their European Cup defence, and within just 2 years, all of them were gone. The start of an era became the end of one. Red Star remained the last team from former communist Europe to win the European Cup. More profoundly, the idea that another team could do it again has all but vanished. Since the Champions League switched to its current format, only 12 Eastern European clubs, from a total of 105, have progressed into the last 16. It is 25 years since a club from the region last reached the semi-finals, and Shakhtar Donetsk back in 2017 are the last team to feature in the knockout stages. So what exactly happened to the Eastern European clubs to cause this massive decline? Let's find out. One of the main reasons for this demise is the geopolitical changes in the region. In Yugoslavia, you had hyperinflation and an economy on its knees, against the backdrop of rising nationalism, political instability, and doubts about the future of the country. It was the perfect storm for football to descend into chaos. With the war in Yugoslavia ratcheting up, Red Star's victory over Marseille became a Serbian victory in the eyes of many. It becomes increasingly difficult to clubs that are effectively ethnically cleansed from their stadium within months, and the demographic situation is changing. Red Star as an institution is torn apart. United Nations sanctions completely strangle sporting activity. It takes years and years for it to even think about being able to compete on the European stage again. Red Star lost all of their best players who were fleeing to the west as war descended on Yugoslavia, hence why most of their players from that title-winning side left. It took Red Star until 2018 to make the Champions League group stages, 26 years on from their title defence in 1992. Ironically, the town they stayed in before their most historic night was named Monopoly, the very thing that Western European leagues have held over the competition ever since that night in Italy. But it is also the same level of dominance that Red Star and their city rivals Star Belgrade have held over the Serbian league, with 16 titles for Partizan and 14 for Red Star since that Red Star Champions League victory, with only Oblique in 1997 interrupting the duopoly. This is perhaps the biggest problem. You have the teams who came out of the upper echelons of Yugoslavia and the Soviet Union. Then you have the rest. You took what was a coherent football environment and carved it into fragments, so you don't have any kind of strength in depth. A team like Slovenia's Olimpija Ljubljana go from competing against high-quality European sides in the Yugoslavia First League every single week to playing in a 21-team Slovenian league against villages of a couple of thousand people. They can't really sustain professional football within that context, let alone challenge in Europe, so they are one of several clubs who go bust. In Serbia and Croatia, there are 4 or 5 teams with a fan base, and then there are teams lucky to have 200 people watching them. Montenegro has a smaller population than Norfolk, so while you have the big two, Budućnost and Sjeska, beyond that, it's a small-time semi-professional and amateur league. To build anything from that can compete in Europe becomes a real challenge. The contrast in fortunes between clubs from West Germany and East Germany since the fall of the Berlin Wall and German reunification is stark. When Germany won the World Cup in 2014, its squad included only one player from the East. The Bundesliga features only 2 clubs from the East, with Leipzig an exception, given they are owned by a multinational company. Clubs in that region simply did not adapt to the new world, and many were left behind, or reduced to an existence as regional teams. The populations of Russia and Ukraine dwarf the other nations in Eastern Europe, bar Poland and Romania, and that is partly why they have been able to maintain a more even domestic league and benefit from oligarch owners. That overnight switch to a capitalist system caused major societal problems in several countries. It left little in the way of rules or regulations, and meant football was ripe for corruption. There was a limbo period where clubs weren't sure whether they were private businesses or whether they were owned by the state. Really, that process is still ongoing, as hardly any clubs own their grounds in the Balkans. It is why you see clubs emerge quickly through the leagues while functioning on a different model, a private business one. Bulgarian champions Ludogorets are a prime example. In 2010, Kirill Domashev bought the club, won promotion to the top division the following year, and they have won every single league title since. leagues the competitiveness of Europe's competition. What does not help is a financial gap between leagues, which means clubs often rely on those in rich leagues buying their players to stay afloat. Before the dissolution of Yugoslavia, elite footballers had to ply their trade in their home league until the age of 26 to 28, meaning the chances of a final payday often came late in their career, if at all. It meant teams could grow together and gain experience in Europe, but that is not as feasible in today's climate. Clubs from Eastern European countries disproportionately export their players to other leagues, and at a younger age. A study by the CIES assessing which nations have produced the most players in the top 31 leagues had Montenegro, Croatia, Slovenia, Serbia, Bosnia, North Macedonia and Slovakia all in the top 10 per head of population. Croatia, despite having a population of just over 5 million, had the 6th highest number of players in major European leagues, with Serbia's population around 6.5 million in 8th place. The more damning thing about Croatia is that is why their national team has seen a major boom recently, reaching the World Cup final and semi-finals in the last 2 editions. Yet Croatia have not had a team domestically able to compete with the big boys in Europe, or even get into the round of 16 of the Champions League during that period, as all of the Croatian talent has been shipped abroad for financial reasons. Another CIES study in 2021, surveying which academies have produced the most players active in the top 48 world leagues, included Dynamo Kiev, Shakhtar Donetsk and Dynamo Zagreb in the top 10. Slovenia, Croatia and Slovakia are among the 6 European leagues with the lowest average age of player, which is partly because the age at which their best talents leave has been getting younger and younger. The argument that it is purely down to the breakup of the countries doesn't hold when you look at other sports like basketball, water polo, handball. These countries still remain very strong in European competitions, and it hasn't affected them in the same way. The best examples to look at are the nations that got their act together quickly and joined the European Union, like Poland. Czech Republic is a bit different, as Czechoslovakia was cut in half too, but they have had a smoother transition and their clubs have held up reasonably well. Yugoslavia will probably be doing better than the 7 states they are now, but other countries like Turkey, Romania and Bulgaria haven't had wars, and they have had the same drain of talent. It is just almost impossible to compete against the Western leagues financially, and that is the real reason clubs have struggled. Western clubs poached the top talents from the Eastern European teams when they were in turmoil due to wars and uncertainties, and once these countries finally got their leagues sorted, it was too late, and all the top talent had gone to the West, and the Western countries had all the money. So, will we ever see an Eastern European country succeed in the Champions League again? It's hard to say yes. Will we see one win the whole thing? It's very likely not, if not completely impossible at this point. But, as we mentioned, these countries are still producing great players, so if they can keep hold of them for a bit longer, we may well see an Eastern European club have a good run in the Champions League soon. The best hope is probably from a Shakhtar Donetsk or a Dynamo Kiev, but again, it looks like they may be going through a similar cycle that course, Ukraine is under a war right now. So, it's not looking too good for Eastern European countries. Maybe the best bet then is probably a Croatian country, if they can keep hold of their talent, but the finances of the Western countries just makes it impossible really for those Eastern countries to compete. But yeah, I thought it was a interesting topic to discuss. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this. If you got any thoughts on this topic, any of you from Eastern Europe, please get in the comments below. Let me know about maybe the infrastructure or certain, corruption that maybe takes place in these leagues and countries which maybe I don't know about or didn't mention. I would love to hear that. This video was also inspired by an article I saw on athletics, so I'll put a link to that in the description as well. But I hope you guys did enjoy this one. If you have enjoyed, please leave a like, consider subscribing, and I'll see you in another video.